What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, second graders? Welcome back for another lesson of our reading nonfiction cover to cover unit. In this unit, we've been reading all these nonfiction books, real, true, factual, scientific books that are teaching us information about a topic. Together, we've been reading all about sharks in many different nonfiction books. And in your class and reading groups, you've been reading your own nonfiction groups, becoming experts on all different topics. Let's backtrack for a second and remind ourselves of the strategies we've talked about already. Readers use everything they know to read nonfiction. We look at every single part of the book, cover to cover, all the captions, all the pictures, and we use all of the strategies we've learned about nonfiction every time we come to read. A good reader figures out the chunks of their book. You think about, how is my book split apart into sections, pages, chapters, paragraphs, because I want to be able to read manageable chunks of my book and then stop and think, did I understand that? That brings us to this one here. We read to understand. We're not just reading and reading and reading without paying attention. We're stopping and we're thinking, did I really understand what that part was about? We read with our explaining voice. This is another strategy we can use to stop after a chunk, use our explaining voice, and try to practice teaching what we've just read. Because if you can teach it, then it means you probably understood it. Yesterday, we talked about asking yourself the 5 W's and the 1 H. Let's remind ourselves what those 5 W's are. Who, what, where, when, why, and that H is how. When you stop after a chunk and you ask yourself the 5 W's and the 1 H, it's another great way to make sure that you are holding on to those key details. Well, today we're going to talk about another important strategy, because it's great to stop after a chunk and make sure you understand it. But the authors who are writing this book, they don't want you to just understand one chunk. They want you to try to understand the whole book, and they especially want you to think about, how do we put it all together? How do we take the different pieces that we read, the different sections, and how do we put it all together to make sure we're really understanding the whole book? And that's what I want us to talk about today. Putting the different parts of your book together is like fitting together the pieces of a puzzle. They each have their own shape, they each have their own main idea and their own details, but the author has written this on purpose in a specific way because these chunks are meant to fit together. But the author's not going to tell you exactly how they fit together. It's your job as a great reader to stop and think, how do those parts fit together? So today, I want us to look at together 3 different chunks of our shark book. And I'm going to use this chart right here for us to think about these 3 chunks. 3 different chapters. We've already read these 3 chapters, so I have a good idea about what they're about. But what I want to do today is I want to think, how do these different chunks fit together? What's the connection between these different chapters? The first chapter we're going to look at today, which we've looked at many times, is Pups Grow Up. Remember that a shark pup is a shark baby, okay? So let's take a look at this book, this section, and let's think, what's this section really about? Pups grow up. When shark pups grow up, they are awesome predators. They have many ways to sense their prey. Did you know a shark can smell blood from miles away? It can smell 1 drop of blood in 25 million drops of ocean. Oh my gosh, so their sense of smell is amazing. And even down here, the word bite is the word predator, animals that eat other animals. Sharks can see better than humans can. Even in deep, dark water, a shark can see its prey. Sharks take a taste bite of prey before eating the whole thing. Their taste buds tell them if the prey is fat enough to eat, because they really want to eat fatty prey because it makes them fill up longer. Okay, so that first chapter that we just read, it's called Pups Grow Up. But if I was really going to use my hand again to think, what's the main idea of that chapter? I can't just say, oh, that chapter is Pups Grow Up. That's the title of the chapter, but that's not the main idea of the chapter. That main idea chapter, all that chapter is actually about sharks are predators. That's really what that chapter is about. The main idea is sharks are predators. What's a detail? They can smell really well to find their prey. They can, what was that second one? Was it hearing? I'm looking back to double check. They can see really well to find their prey. What's another detail from that chapter? Yeah, and they're just really good predators. Okay, so really this chapter is called Pups Grow Up, but really it's about sharks as predators. Okay, now let's read the next chapter. The next chapter is What Big Teeth You Have. We actually looked at this one yesterday when we talked about the 5 W's, but let's read it one more time. Sharks have many rows of teeth, and they're always losing some teeth, and they're always growing new teeth. A shark uses up more than 10,000 teeth in its life. Oof, that's much more than humans. We don't have nearly that many teeth. Different sharks have different teeth, and their teeth are perfect for what they eat. Long, spiky teeth are for catching. Remember this we talked about yesterday? Flat teeth are for grinding, and serrated teeth are for ripping. Prehistoric sharks had really big teeth, up to 6 inches. The megalodon is a prehistoric shark, and scientists made a life-size model of the megalodon's jaw and put in the teeth they had found. You can imagine how big the shark must have been. So this chapter is called What Big Teeth You Have. Is that the main idea? Would I say the main idea of this chapter is what big teeth you have? No, that's the title of the chapter. What's the main idea of that chapter? It's all about different teeth for different purposes, okay? Sharks have different teeth for different purposes. Now, here's my job. How do these 2 chapters fit together like a puzzle? Sharks as predators and having different teeth for different purposes. How can we say those connect? Well, sharks are predators, and that means that they have to go after other fish. And some of their teeth are for catching fish, right? Like those really long, sharp ones are for catching fish. So maybe the connection here is that sharks are predators, and that means they're going to have to hunt, and the teeth are a big part of what let them hunt. Predators have to have the right teeth for hunting. Okay, do you see how I just talked those out? I found the connection between those 2 chapters. Sharks as predators and different types of teeth. They go together because they're both about sort of like sharks needing to hunt and that being an important part of their life. We did it. We found a way to put them together like puzzle pieces. Let's read one more chapter and think how we could put that one together with both of these. That's going to be challenging. Here we go. The next chapter is called Imagine This. A giant shark is gliding through the water. A swimmer is nearby. The shark gets closer. It's huge. It opens its giant mouth and sucks in a big mouthful of water. Did you think that's what it was going to say? The swimmer is fine. The shark is actually a whale shark. Whale sharks are the biggest sharks, but they have tiny teeth. They eat tiny animals called plankton. Huh! The whale shark's teeth are tiny, even though it's huge. Look, there's the swimmer right there. And the swimmer's totally fine. So what's the main idea of that chapter? I can't say, oh, the main idea of the chapter is Imagine This. No, that's the title of the chapter. The main idea of the chapter is that whale sharks are not fierce predators. Whale sharks don't go after their prey with big, sharp teeth. So how does that fit together? Because whale sharks are kind of the opposite to what we were just reading. Now, there's a special name for this, 2nd grade. Whale sharks are the exception to the rule. Sometimes in nonfiction books, they're going to teach you about what most of it's like, and then they're going to tell you, but There's this interesting exception that does it differently. And that's the connection for the whale shark chapter to these other chapters. Most sharks are predators and they need to hunt and they use their different teeth for hunting. But whale sharks are the exception to the rule. They have tiny teeth and they eat tiny fish called plankton, and they are the exception to the rule. So here I am, friends. I've read 3 chapters and I've stopped to make sure that I understand how these 3 chapters fit together. And now when I think about that information in my brain, I really understand the way the author wanted to organize this book. They wanted to teach me the normal parts of most sharks, and then they wanted to give me an exception to the rule so that I understood that some sharks might be a little bit different. Here's my challenge to you today. I'd like you to read at least 2 chunks. If you really want to challenge yourself, try doing 3 chunks like we did. And I want you at the end of those 2 chunks or 3 to explain on a Post-it note how those 2 chunks fit together. So if I were going to write it for this, I would write, sharks are predators and they need to hunt, and that connects here because they need to use their teeth for hunting. If I were going to write it on this one, I would say most sharks are predators and they use their teeth for hunting, but whale sharks are the exception and they are not fierce predators. And that's my challenge to you today. You're going to need a Post-it note and your nonfiction book and start thinking, how do my sections fit together? Get to it.